All right, get ready for this one because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Rey Mysterio.
Wow, what a choice.
Yeah, you guys sent us a whole podcast script all about him. So clearly you want to know everything, his legendary career, the whole impact he's had on wrestling, all of it.
And I gotta say, what a career it has been. Rey Mysterio, he's more than just a wrestler. Like, he's a global icon. He's gone way past just the ring, become this pop culture phenomenon.
He's been a major player in wrestling for, decades now.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't wait to dig into what makes him so special. But before we go full-on fanboy, right?
Right.
We gotta understand where he came from. We're talking about the high-flying, crazy visual world of lucha libre.
Absolutely. It all started in Mexico, and it's known for its fast-paced, super acrobatic style, the colorful masks, those crazy sequences of holds and maneuvers, all that. It's like this unique blend of athleticism and pure spectacle.
Yeah, it's like watching a superhero comic, but live. And speaking of larger-than-life figures, get this. Rey Mysterio's story begins at 14. 14 years old. That's when he made his pro wrestling debut.
Oh, wow. 14. That's practically unheard of in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Think about it. He was training under his uncle, Rey Misterio Sr., almost since he was a kid.
That's intense.
It tells you a lot about his dedication, the raw talent, and just the sheer weight of that family legacy he was carrying,
Yeah, it's not like just picking a cool stage name. Inheriting the name Rey Mysterio, that's like stepping into a lineage, right?
Oh, for sure.
A responsibility to live up to this standard of excellence, the whole lucha libre tradition on his shoulders.
Exactly, like being passed the torch, the symbol of all this history, and you got to carry it forward.
Yeah, and even back then, even as a teenager, he was showing flashes of that innovation, that agility. He even wrestled as La Lagartilla Verde, the green lizard.
Oh, wow.
And Colibri, which is hummingbird.
Those names.
Right.
They capture that speed and agility he was already known for. Like, foreshadowing that high-flying style he'd become a legend for.
Like, he was born to fly high, man. And that's what he did, especially when he burst onto the scene with WCW World Championship Wrestling in the mid-90s. This was when the cruiserweight division was booming. We're talking lighter, faster wrestlers. All about those high-flying moves and technical wrestling.
Oh, yeah. The rise of the cruiserweights. That was a huge shift in wrestling. Audiences wanted something different.
Right.
They'd seen enough of those huge powerhouse wrestlers.
Yeah.
They wanted something faster, more dynamic, more visual spectacle.
Yeah.
And lucha libre, man, that was the perfect style to deliver.
Oh, yeah. And Rey Mysterio, he stepped right into that spotlight, and he just blew everyone away.
His WCW debut against Dean Malenko, the Great American Bash, 1996, that match is still a classic.
Yeah, and for good reason.
That was like a masterclass.
Oh, it was beautiful.
In technical wrestling and those high-flying acrobatics.
It was like a dance,
But like a really intense athletic dance.
He wasn't just wrestling, he was performing. That level of skill and showmanship, people were just in awe. And to really get what made him so captivating, we got to break down some of those signature moves.
Oh, definitely. Picture this. He launches off the ropes, twisting through the air.
Oh, yeah.
Like a human corkscrew.
I know it.
It's called a corkscrew plancha. He dives out of the ring right onto his opponent.
Oh, it's so good.
Or how about this? He uses the ropes, gets all this momentum, and then bam! Hits his signature move, the 619.
Dude, the 619, that's more than just a move. It's iconic.
Oh, yeah.
A symbol of his creativity, like defying expectations.
It's the perfect mix of athleticism and showmanship, creating these moments that are just thrilling, and you can't forget them.
And he wasn't just a solo act either. He had these epic rivalries back in WCW. We're talking Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, Psychosis.
Oh, yeah.
And these weren't just about winning or losing. They were telling stories in that ring, narratives, pulling the audience in, giving the matches depth.
That rivalry with Eddie Guerrero, man, that was special. A masterpiece of storytelling. Their mask versus title match at Halloween Havoc 98. Classic example of how lucha libre can blend competition with deeply personal stories.
That match had everything. High stakes, crazy athleticism. You could feel the emotional depth that hit the audience hard.
It wasn't just a match. It was a story about friendship, rivalry, tradition, the whole thing.
Right. And to really get the weight of that match, you got to understand what the mask means in lucha libre culture.
Oh, for sure. For sure. In lucha libre, that mask, it's not just a costume.
It's like their identity, right?
It's their identity, their heritage, the lineage they carry.
So much more.
Way more.
Than just a cool look.
It's a symbol, man, of honor, tradition, passed down for generations.
Wow.
For Rey Mysterio to put that mask on the line,
Huge.
it shows how dedicated he was to the sport, the respect he had for Eddie.
It was a gamble, and it totally paid off. Cemented his status as this lucha libre icon. But his story, it wasn't over. WCW, they got bought out by WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
Big changes.
Yeah, in 2001, that was a massive shift for wrestling.
It was. And you got to wonder, could Rey Mysterio adapt? Could he keep that success going on an even bigger stage?
Well, he didn't back down from the challenge, that's for sure. He debuts in WWE 2002 and goes right up against the biggest names.
Yeah, like Kurt Angle.
The Undertaker.
Eddie Guerrero again, of course.
Oh, yeah. And he didn't just survive, he thrived. His style, the charisma, and that connection with the audience, man, he won over those WWE fans worldwide.
He did?
And the 619, even more iconic in WWE, it went beyond wrestling, became this instantly recognizable thing, even for people who don't even really watch.
Crazy.
That move, it was like a symbol of him.
The underdog spirit, the innovation defying those expectations.
Totally. His WWE career, it hit this peak in 2006. He wins the Royal Rumble.
Wow.
That's a 30-man battle royal, one of the biggest deals in WWE.
Yeah, he started number 2.
That's right. Outlasted 28 other guys, some of the biggest, toughest dudes in the company. That's a true underdog story.
Absolutely. You got to have endurance, skill, and a never-give-up attitude.
He was in there for over an hour, defying the odds, keeping the audience hooked with his resilience. And to make it even more emotional, he dedicated that win to Eddie Guerrero, who'd passed away just a few months before.
Yeah.
Gave the victory this whole other layer of meaning. It was a tribute to his friend, a celebration of their history, a reminder of legacy, those bonds that last.
It was. And he didn't stop there. Rode that wave all the way to WrestleMania 22. He's up against Kurt Angle and Randy Orton for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Right. And remember, Rey Mysterio, he's 5'6", 175 pounds, going up against two of the biggest, strongest guys in the company. Another David versus Goliath story. The odds totally stacked against him.
But that's part of what makes Rey Mysterio so compelling, right? That underdog spirit, that ability to defy expectations. And at WrestleMania 22, he does it. He wins the World Heavyweight Championship.
It was huge.
Huge. A testament to his skill, his resilience, that connection with the audience.
And it solidified his legacy, right?
It did. Not just as a great wrestler, but as a true icon. He inspired so many fans all over the world.
Yeah, a reminder that anything's possible. You just need the heart, the determination, and to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And as we keep going with Rey Mysterio's journey, I think it's time to step back a bit.
Okay.
Appreciate the bigger impact he's had, not just his story, but what he's done for wrestling.
Oh, yeah, he's more than just talented.
Right.
He's a trailblazer. He paved the way for a whole generation of luchadors, gave them a chance to show their skills on this global stage.
He's helped make the lucha libre style popular, bring that energy, the athleticism, and the unique storytelling to a whole new audience. And that's a legacy that goes way beyond just wins and championships.
It does. He's inspired so many wrestlers to try that lucha libre style. You can see his influence in all the high-flying moves, the acrobatic stuff that's gotten super popular in wrestling today.
It's like he brought this whole new level of excitement to the sport, you know? And it's not just about the moves, it's the way he tells these stories in the ring. That emotional connection with the audience, he just embodies the spirit of lucha libre.
And that connection with the audience, that's what sets him apart. You know, it goes beyond just athleticism. It's his charisma, that underdog thing he's got going. He makes people believe anything's possible.
Right. He's a true role model.
Totally.
Inside the ring, outside the ring.
Humble guy, dedicated to family. He gives back to the community.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, you know, someone who's achieved so much and he stayed grounded, especially when you think about how tough wrestling is on your body.
Oh, yeah.
It demands so much.
Strength, agility,
endurance.
And Rey Mysterio, he's been doing it at the highest level for decades.
Pushing himself. It's a testament, man, to his dedication, his love for the sport.
It is.
That commitment to entertaining his fans. But as much as we've talked about his impact, I think it's time we dive into some of the matches, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The ones that really made his career.
We could talk Rey Mysterio matches all day long, but there are a few that just stand out.
We mentioned the mask versus title match with Eddie Guerrero at Halloween Havoc 98.
Right.
And that World Heavyweight Championship win at WrestleMania 22.
Epic.
But his story, it's full of these unforgettable moments.
Like that match against Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah.
On the Eddie Guerrero tribute episode.
Oh, man, that was so emotional.
The whole arena, you could feel it.
It was heavy.
Those two legends paying tribute to their friend.
It went beyond wrestling, you know?
Yeah,
It was about something more.
totally. And how about that ladder match for custody of Dominic against Eddie at SummerSlam 2005?
Oh, that storyline.
That was something else, man.
Wild. The idea that these two friends would fight over custody of a kid in a ladder match.
I know, right?
But it worked.
It captured everyone's attention. That level of intensity, you don't see that often.
It was brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Just back and forth.
High-risk moves, close calls. The audience was on the edge of their seats.
And those emotional stakes, forget about it.
Oh, so high. You could see it in their eyes. The desperation, the need to win. But even through all that, there was still this underlying respect and even love.
Definitely. And Ray wins. Right.
He does, gets custody of Dominic, adds this whole other layer to their relationship. That match, it cemented their rivalry as one of the all-time greats.
One for the history books.
A story about friendship, betrayal, family, everything.
Everything.
And we can't forget his Money in the Bank win in 2010 against Jack Swagger.
Oh, yeah.
He grabs that briefcase.
Yeah.
Guarantees himself a future championship opportunity.
That match showed just how resilient he is. Never gives up. Even when it seems impossible, he finds a way.
And how about his performance in the 2019 Royal Rumble?
Oh, wow.
He's in there for almost an hour. At his age, with all the years of wear and tear on his body, it's amazing. Shows his love for the sport, that connection with the fans.
Like a master at work. Shows you age is just a number, you know? If you've got the heart of a champion.
Rey Mysterio, he's an inspiration. Shows you can do anything if you work hard, you're passionate, and you never give up.
Absolutely.
I think it's time we zoom out a bit.
Okay.
We focused a lot on Rey Mysterio, but let's talk more about lucha libre itself. You know, the style that shaped him, that he helped shape in return.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's easy to get caught up in the individual stories, but we got to understand where it all came from.
The roots of this unique and super captivating style of wrestling.
Lucha Libre, it's got this rich history, cultural significance. It goes way beyond just wrestling.
So where did it all begin? How did this style come about, and what makes it so special?
Well, you got to go back to 19th century Mexico.
Wow.
That's where it emerged. It blended elements of Greco-Roman wrestling with indigenous Mexican fighting styles.
So like a mix of different traditions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of what makes it unique. It's this melting pot of influences, all coming together to create this style that's both athletic and artistic. It's fierce, but also flamboyant.
Like a cultural tapestry.
Yes. Threads of history, tradition, innovation, all woven together.
Amazing. And it's not just about the physical techniques, right?
Nope. From the beginning, Lucha Libre embraced that showmanship, the theatricality. It drew inspiration from Mexican folk culture, masked performers, all that.
So it's always been more than just winning or losing.
Oh, way more. It's about telling stories, putting on a show, connecting with the audience. It's like transporting them to this other world where athleticism meets art.
And the masks, those iconic Lucha Libre masks.
Oh, yeah.
They add to that whole mystique, right? Let wrestlers become different characters, these larger-than-life personas.
The masks, they're not just costumes. They represent history, heritage, the characters the wrestlers embody. They're a visual link to the past, a way to honor those traditions, but also let them express themselves. Get creative.
It's fascinating how the mask becomes such a huge part of the luchador's identity.
It's like a transformation. It lets them become something else, connect with the audience on a whole different level. And that connection, that's a big part of what makes Lucha Libre special.
It's like this shared experience, a celebration of athleticism, artistry, and storytelling. But how did it go from this regional thing to a global phenomenon?
Well, it took time. A few things came together. In the early 20th century, it started getting popular in Mexico City, a huge cultural hub.
Okay.
From there, it spread throughout the whole country, catching on with all kinds of people.
So it was this grassroots movement, right? It just grew organically.
Through the fans' passion and excitement. As it got bigger, people outside Mexico started to take notice.
I see.
It eventually made its way to the U.S., other parts of the world.
And that's where wrestlers like Rey Mysterio come in.
Exactly.
They were the ones who bridged that cultural gap, right?
They were the pioneers. They introduced Lucha Libre to a wider audience.
Yeah.
And Rey Mysterio, with his talent, his style, his ability to connect with everyone, he played a huge role in making Lucha Libre popular globally.
Yeah, he became the face of it.
He showed the energy, the athleticism, the storytelling, brought it to a whole new generation of fans. And his success, that opened the door for other luchadors to follow. created this new wave of interest.
It's like he revealed this whole new world, right? High-flying acrobatics, colorful masks, passionate storytelling.
A world that keeps captivating audiences everywhere. And speaking of evolution, we got to remember, lucha libre isn't stuck in the past.
Right.
It's constantly evolving, changing with the times, incorporating new influences.
So it's not just about outdated tradition.
Not at all. It's alive, man. Always pushing boundaries, embracing new ideas.
And how has it changed over the years? What are some of the big developments?
One big thing is the new moves, the techniques. They come from other wrestling styles and from the creativity of younger wrestlers.
So it's like this mix of old and new, tradition meets innovation that keeps it fresh.
Exactly. And the athletes themselves, they've gotten even better. They're pushing the limits of what you can do in the ring.
Creating a spectacle that's just breathtaking. It's like this constant evolution, always trying to reach greater heights, more complex moves, more daring stuff.
Yeah, and the storytelling aspect, it's evolved too. Wrestlers are finding new ways to connect with the audience.
I see.
To blur the lines between what's real and what's not, create narratives that are both compelling and emotionally resonant.
So it's like sport and theater combined.
Exactly. It's this world where athletic feats meet these compelling storylines.
That's wild.
And one key part of this evolution is the training. To become a luchador, that's some serious stuff.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It's easy to get caught up in the show, but behind all that are years of hard work and discipline.
It's not for everyone becoming a luchador. It takes a unique mix of things. Athleticism, agility, strength, showmanship, and a deep understanding of those traditions, the techniques that have been passed down.
So it's like an apprenticeship. They learn the moves, but also the history, the culture, everything.
It is. It's a grueling process, physically and mentally. Tests their limits, their dedication.
Wow. And the masks, are they part of the training too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those masks, they're huge in lucha libre. And that importance is drilled into them from the start. They learn to respect the tradition, the meaning behind the mask. It's a symbol of their identity, their heritage.
So it's not just about putting on a cool costume. It's about taking on this whole legacy.
It is. It's stepping into this lineage. A tradition. It comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of honor.
It's one of the things that really sets lucha libre apart from other types of wrestling, right?
Right. It reminds you that it's not just entertainment. It's a cultural tradition with deep roots, this rich history.
It's like a sacred thing passed down. That lineage, that tradition, that's what makes it so captivating.
And when you combine that with the athleticism, those crazy moves, the storytelling, you get something truly unique, unforgettable.
And at the heart of it all is Rey Misterio.
Yeah.
He represents the spirit of lucha libre.
Oh, he does.
The history, the traditions, and how much potential it has for innovation and excitement.
His story is tied to the story of lucha libre.
It is.
His impact is undeniable.
He's a pioneer, an innovator, a true icon.
Absolutely.
But I think we need to talk more about one of the biggest parts of his career. His rivalry with Eddie Guerrero.
Oh, man, that was something special. A complex relationship. It had everything. Respect, competition, real friendship.
Their matches were always so intense.
They had this chemistry, natural understanding of each other. It was like magic every time we got in the ring together.
And they weren't afraid to take risks, to tell stories that blurred the lines, to explore those deep emotions.
That ladder match for custody of Dominic at SummerSlam 2005.
Oh, man.
That was something else.
I know, right? The idea of two friends fighting over custody of a kid in a ladder match.
Old move.
It was, but it totally worked.
It grabbed everyone's attention, that emotional investment.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get that in a typical wrestling feud. It tapped into something primal,
Yeah.
The love between a father and son, the whole messiness of friendship and rivalry.
And the match itself was just brutal. Back and forth, high-risk moves, those close calls.
The ladders became weapons.
They really did. And the emotional stakes.
Yeah.
Forget about it. You could see it in their eyes. The desperation, the determination.
And still, underneath it all, that respect, that affection.
It was amazing. And Ray, he wins. Gets custody of Dominic.
Adds another layer to their whole story.
Man, that match.
It cemented their rivalry.
It did.
One of the most compelling, unforgettable rivalries in wrestling history.
It was a story about friendship, betrayal, redemption, family. It went beyond wrestling, It showed the power of storytelling. When it's done right, it can make you feel things that few other forms of entertainment can.
It really did. Rey Mysterio, with that style of his charisma, his ability to connect with the audience like that.
It's amazing.
He's been at the forefront of this whole storytelling thing in wrestling.
He's a pioneer. an innovator, a true icon of lucha libre. And honestly, his legacy, it's going to inspire wrestlers and fans for years to come. It blows my mind to think about the impact he's had.
Yeah, it's remarkable, for sure. And, even after all this, we've only scratched the surface of Rey Mysterio's story. There's always more to discover, more to learn about his journey and the impact he's still having on wrestling.
You're right, and that actually makes me think of something. We talked about the history of lucha libre, how it's evolved, the legends like Rey Mysterio.
Right.
But what about the future of this style? How's it adapting to the changes in wrestling?
It's a great question. Lucha Libre, it's obviously captured the hearts of fans all over the world.
Yeah.
But is it staying popular? Are there new challenges, new opportunities coming up?
And what about those younger luchadors, the ones who are inspired by guys like Rey Mysterio? Are they carrying on the traditions or mixing in new influences?
Exactly. Wrestling, it's always changing. And Lucha Libre, with all its athleticism, its artistry, its culture, it's ready to play an even bigger role globally.
I think so too.
But what will that look like? Will we see styles blending together? Will the storytelling get even more complex, even more exciting?
Those are good questions. And honestly, we don't know all the answers yet.
Yep.
But what we do know is that Lucha Libre has a dedicated fan base, this rich history, and a ton of incredibly talented performers who want to keep that legacy alive.
Absolutely. And thanks to guys like Rey Mysterio, who pushed those boundaries, shattered expectations, and inspired so many people to embrace this style.
Yeah.
The future of Lucha Libre looks pretty bright.
It does. So to everyone listening, keep exploring the world of Lucha Libre. Watch the matches, learn about the history, the culture, and keep your eyes peeled for those rising stars who are carrying the torch forward.
It's a world full of surprises. A mix of athleticism, artistry, and storytelling you won't find anywhere else.
So true.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to discover the next chapter in this incredible story.
It's been awesome diving deep with you today into the world of Rey Mysterio and the magic of Lucha Libre. Until next time, keep those masks high, and remember, the heart of a champion can come in any size.